"You don't look like trouble," the soldier muttered, wiping blood from the fresh cut on his cheek as he sat at the bar. The young bartender leaned in, her lips curling into a half-smile, eyes sharp as glass, and whispered, "That's the idea." The other patrons chuckled, unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. To them, she was just a small-town bartender with a friendly face, pouring whiskey and polishing glasses. But to the Navy SEALs sitting in that dimly lit bar, something felt off. Her movements were too precise, her posture too disciplined. Every flick of her wrist, every calculated glance, screamed training, real training. The SEAL who had spoken, call sign Hawk, narrowed his eyes. He had spent years scanning body language in hostile villages, and this bartender, with her sly smirk and unassuming charm, wasn't what she seemed. "Nice ink," another SEAL remarked, pointing to the trident tattoo etched into her arm. The bartender froze for half a second, just enough for Hawk to notice. That tattoo wasn't random. It was earned. The trident was the sacred emblem of the Navy SEALs themselves. No one wore it unless they had bled for it, trained for it, survived hell for it. The bar suddenly felt colder. Hawk leaned forward and said in a low voice, "You were one of us." The bartender smirked, sliding a glass of whiskey across the counter, and replied softly, "Correction, I was better." The SEALs exchanged looks. They had stumbled into something extraordinary. This wasn't just a woman slinging drinks in a small-town bar. She was hiding a deadly secret, a past buried in classified files and forgotten missions. But before they could press further, the door swung open. A group of men walked in, hard faces, foreign accents, the kind of men who brought danger wherever they went. The bartender's smile faded. She set down the glass slowly, her eyes narrowing as her entire body tensed like a coiled spring. The SEALs noticed instantly. "You know them," Hawk said, but she didn't answer. The strangers ordered drinks, laughing too loudly, but their hands stayed too close to their jackets. One of them brushed past a waitress, and something metallic glinted at his waist. A weapon. The SEALs were ready to react, but before they could move, the bartender slammed her fist on the counter. The bar went silent. "You boys picked the wrong town," she growled. In a blur, she reached beneath the counter, not for a bottle, but for a blade. With lightning speed, she pinned one man's wrist to the wood, his gun clattering to the floor. Another lunged at her, but she twisted, slammed his head into the bar, and dropped him like a sack of bricks. The SEALs just sat there for a moment, stunned. They were trained for war zones, but watching her dismantle armed men in seconds was something else entirely. The fight was over almost as quickly as it began. The strangers staggered out, bruised and broken, dragging their wounded pride behind them. The bartender exhaled, brushing her hair back casually as if she'd just cleaned a spill. Then she poured herself a drink, downed it in one gulp, and turned back to Hawk. "Now do you see why I keep my past quiet?" she asked. The SEALs were speechless. Who was this woman? Why had someone like her disappeared into small-town obscurity, tending bar instead of leading missions? Hawk leaned in, voice steady. "You were one of the best. Why walk away?" For the first time, her smirk faltered. Her eyes softened, carrying the weight of memories too painful to speak. "Because sometimes," she whispered, staring at the amber glow of whiskey in her glass, "the hardest battles aren't the ones overseas. They're the ones we fight in here." She tapped her chest. "Loss, regret, silence. Some wounds never heal." The bar went quiet again, but this time it wasn't from fear, it was from respect. The SEALs nodded. They understood. They had all carried ghosts of their own. And in that moment, they weren't just soldiers and a bartender. They were warriors who knew the price of survival. Hawk raised his glass. "To the ones we lost," he said. She clinked her glass against his, "and to the ones still standing." The crowd erupted in applause, raising their drinks in unison. The strangers who had mocked her now looked on with admiration, realizing the bartender they thought was ordinary was anything but. Because sometimes the most dangerous people in the room are the ones who hide in plain sight. The moral, true strength doesn't always wear a uniform. Sometimes it hides behind a smile, waiting for the moment it's needed most. If this story touched you, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and drop a karma in the comments below.